It was supposed to be an ordinary Tuesday. I had left work a little early, hoping to surprise my husband, Mark, at his office downtown. We hadn't been connecting lately, late nights, short conversations, and that strange distance that creeps in when two people start living side by side instead of together. So I thought, maybe lunch together will help. I parked in the garage and headed toward the elevator. My heart was light, clutching his favorite sandwich and coffee, humming along to the music in my AirPods. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, and I stepped inside, pressing the button for the 12th floor, his floor. Halfway up, the elevator suddenly stopped with a jolt. I sighed, assuming it was just a glitch, but before I could press the emergency button, the doors slid open again, on the 8th floor. That's when I saw him. Mark. He walked in, laughing softly, his hand intertwined with someone else's. A woman, young, beautiful, effortlessly put together. My brain couldn't process fast enough. My heart dropped to the floor as I froze, clutching the lunch bag. The woman glanced at me, her perfectly manicured fingers still tangled with his, and whispered with a curious little smile. "Who's that?" Mark's face went pale, and in that suffocating silence, I managed to say just one thing, my voice trembling but steady enough to slice through the air. "I'm his wife." The silence that followed could have split the air in two. Mark's hand slipped away from hers so fast it almost looked like he'd been burned. His face twisted, shock, guilt, panic, all tangled together. "Emily," he stammered, "what are you? How?" I didn't answer. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. The elevator doors had closed again, and suddenly, as if the universe decided to add insult to injury, the elevator jerked once more and stopped completely. We were stuck. The other woman, her name, I would later learn, was Rachel, let out a small, nervous laugh. Is this a joke?" she asked, glancing between the two of us. When no one answered, she crossed her arms and looked at Mark. "Why is she saying she's your wife?" Mark rubbed the back of his neck, eyes darting anywhere but mine. "Rachel, this isn't what it looks like," he mumbled, voice cracking. "Oh really?" I snapped, my anger finally bubbling to the surface. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like you walked in holding another woman's hand while your wife was on her way to surprise you." Rachel's face drained of color. She stepped back, studying him. "You said you were divorced," she whispered. My stomach twisted. Divorced? He'd been telling people we weren't even together. Mark looked trapped, just like the rest of us, but it wasn't the elevator that caged him. It was the truth. I pressed the emergency call button and leaned against the wall, arms crossed, refusing to look at him. The intercom crackled, and a voice said, "Maintenance is on the way. Please stay calm." Calm? Not a chance. Because in that steel box, suspended between floors, everything I thought I knew about my marriage was hanging by the same fragile cable. The elevator hummed softly, a mechanical heartbeat echoing the tension between us. Nobody spoke for a full minute. Rachel stared at the closed doors like she could will them open, and Mark avoided my eyes like a guilty child caught red-handed. Finally, I broke the silence. "How long?" He blinked. "What?" I took a step closer, my voice steady, though my insides were shaking. "How long have you been seeing her?" Mark exhaled sharply, running his hands through his hair. "Emily, please, not here." I laughed, a bitter sound that didn't even feel like mine. "Oh, I'm sorry, would you rather we discuss your affair in a more comfortable setting? Maybe over dinner? Or in our bed?" Rachel flinched. I didn't know," she stammered. "He told me you'd separated months ago." I turned to her. Her mascara was smudging slightly under the fluorescent light, and for a brief second, I almost felt sorry for her. "Almost. He lies easily," I said quietly. "You're not the first." Mark's head snapped up. "That's not fair, Emily." "Fair?" I whispered. "You think fair applies when you're walking around with someone else while still sharing a home and pretending to love me?" He started pacing, tugging at his tie, muttering something I couldn't hear. The air inside the elevator was thick, suffocating. Then, the intercom crackled again. "Sorry for the delay, folks. We're still working on getting you moving." Rachel backed into a corner, clutching her purse, eyes darting between us. I could see the realization settling in on her face. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was betrayal, and she was part of it. Mark finally slumped against the wall, his voice low and hoarse. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I met his eyes for the first time since he walked in. You weren't supposed to find out at all, I said. And for the first time, he didn't have an excuse ready. The hum of the elevator changed, just slightly, but enough to make all three of us look up at once. The intercom buzzed. All right, folks, looks like we got you moving again. You'll be on the 12th floor in about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. That was all it took for my marriage to come crashing down. I could feel my pulse in my throat. Rachel shifted nervously, clutching her phone, clearly debating whether to say something, or just run the moment those doors opened. Mark stood beside the control panel, staring straight ahead, his jaw tight, his reflection trembling in the mirrored wall. The elevator dinged. When the doors slid open, a rush of cold air spilled in from the hallway. I stepped out first, but I didn't walk away. I turned around to face them both. So, this is your office floor, I said, my voice strangely calm. Do your coworkers know you bring your dates here too? Mark's face flushed crimson. Emily, please, don't make a scene. Make a scene. I cut him off. Mark, I'm living the scene. You wrote it. You directed it. I'm just the idiot who bought a ticket. A few people in the hallway were starting to glance over. Mark tried to usher Rachel out quietly, but she froze. Don't touch me, she said sharply, pulling her hand away. You lied to me, Mark. To both of us. That hit him harder than anything I could have said. He looked helpless, mouth opening and closing, searching for words that wouldn't come. For a second, I almost pitied him, almost. But then I remembered every late night, every missed call, every time he said he was working late. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. I came here to surprise you. To remind you that we still had something worth saving. I swallowed hard. Turns out, I was too late. Then I handed him the paper bag with his favorite lunch inside. Enjoy it with whoever you're being honest with next time. And without another word, I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard Rachel mutter, I'm so done, before storming off in the opposite direction. Mark was left standing there, alone, still holding the bag that was supposed to be a gesture of love, now just a symbol of everything he'd thrown away. When I got home, the apartment felt colder than usual. Not physically, it was the kind of cold that creeps in when the warmth of trust is gone. I set my keys on the counter, the sound echoing through the empty space. The lunch I'd brought for Mark was gone, but the memory of that elevator was still replaying in my head. His face, her voice, that whisper, who's that? I sank into one of the kitchen chairs and stared at the wall. My phone buzzed again and again, Mark's name lighting up the screen, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Each vibration was another reminder of everything I didn't want to hear. After a while, I finally picked up. What do you want, Mark? His voice was strained, shaky. Emily, please, can we talk? Just come back, I can explain. Explain what? I asked flatly. How you told another woman we were divorced. Or how you held her hand in front of me like I was a stranger. He was silent for a few seconds. Then, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. I laughed bitterly. No, I bet it wasn't. You probably planned on dragging it out, until I finally stopped asking where you were every night. Emily, he said softly, I still love you. That sentence hit me like a punch. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw something, but instead, I just whispered, no, Mark. You love who I used to be before you decided I wasn't enough. Silence. I'll come by tomorrow, he said finally. We'll talk face to face. Don't, I replied. I need time. I hung up before he could say another word. For the first time in years, the house was completely quiet. I sat there, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, trying to figure out when exactly our marriage had started falling apart, and realizing I'd been trying to fix something that had already broken beyond repair. Then my phone buzzed again, this time, a message from an unknown number. Hi, this is Rachel. Can we talk? I stared at the message on my phone for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it, pretend I'd never seen it. But curiosity, and maybe the need for closure, won. Where? I typed back. 10 minutes later, we agreed to meet at a quiet coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment. I threw on a sweater, tied my hair back, and drove there in silence. The world outside looked normal, people laughing, cars passing, but everything inside me felt upside down. When I walked in, Rachel was already there. She looked smaller somehow, no makeup, no confidence, just exhaustion. She stood when she saw me, eyes full of guilt. Emily, she said softly. Thank you for coming. You didn't have to. I know, I replied, sitting down across from her. So why did you want to talk? She sighed, fiddling with her coffee cup. Because you deserve to know the truth. About everything. I folded my arms, wary but listening. He told me he was divorced, she began. Said you'd moved out, that it was mutual. He made it sound like you were the one who wanted space. I swear, if I had known. I interrupted, not harshly, but firm. Did you love him? She hesitated, then nodded. I thought I did, but I think I was in love with the version of him he showed me, the one who said he was finally free to start over. Her voice cracked. He told me he was tired of living a lie. Those words hit me like ice. Living a lie. So that's how he framed our marriage. Rachel continued, her hands trembling. And then, a few weeks ago, he told me he wanted to take things slow, because he wasn't ready to make it public yet. I thought he just needed time to heal. I didn't realize he was still sleeping next to you. I felt my stomach twist. So he's been lying to both of us. She nodded. And there's something else. My eyes narrowed. What? She reached into her bag and slid a small envelope across the table. I found this in his car last week. It's addressed to you. My heart skipped. I opened it carefully. Inside was a folded piece of paper, Mark's handwriting. It read, if you ever find this, it means I couldn't tell you face to face. There's something I need to confess before it destroys both of us. I looked up at Rachel, my hands shaking. What is this supposed to mean? She met my eyes, her voice barely above a whisper. I think Mark's been hiding something bigger than just an affair. The paper trembled in my hands. Mark's handwriting was unmistakable, slanted, rushed, the same messy scrawl he used for grocery lists and birthday cards. But this wasn't a note of love. Every line felt heavy, deliberate. I took a breath and began to read. Greater than Emily. If you ever find this, I need you to know that I never meant for things to spiral the way they did. What I've been hiding isn't just about Rachel. It's about money, about choices I made trying to fix something that was already falling apart. The company's in trouble. I took out loans in both our names. You don't know because I kept the paperwork hidden. I thought I could fix it before you found out. But the truth is, I can't. It's too big now. I lied to you because I didn't want you to see how badly I'd failed. I don't expect forgiveness. But I couldn't face watching you lose everything because of me. I thought if you hated me, if you left, it would protect you. I'm sorry. Mark. When I finished, my throat went dry. My first instinct was disbelief, but the more I read it, the more it sounded exactly like him. Cowardly in love, desperate in guilt. Rachel's eyes searched mine. I didn't read the whole thing. Just enough to realize it wasn't something meant for me. I stared down at the letter again. He took out loans, in my name. She nodded slowly. I think so. And he mentioned he was being audited at work, something about missing funds. I leaned back, the room spinning slightly. All the late nights, all the secrecy, it wasn't just cheating. It was cover-up. He wasn't protecting me, I said bitterly. He was using me. Rachel bit her lip. Emily, I'm sorry. I really am. For a moment, we just sat there, two women caught in the same storm, different sides of the same lie. And as angry as I was, I knew she wasn't the enemy. I don't blame you, I said quietly. He lied to both of us. She looked surprised, then nodded with a sad smile. What are you going to do? I folded the letter carefully and slipped it back into the envelope. I'm going to make sure he can't hurt either of us again. Outside the cafe window, rain had started to fall, soft at first, then heavier, like the world itself was trying to wash away what was left of my marriage. The rain was relentless by the time I reached our apartment. The hallway lights flickered as thunder rolled outside, a fitting soundtrack for the storm brewing inside me. Mark's car was in the driveway. He was home. I stood at the door for a moment, my fingers brushing the letter in my pocket. I wasn't nervous anymore, just tired. Tired of lies, of pretending, of carrying love that had already died. When I walked in, he was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his phone like he'd been waiting for me. His eyes were bloodshot, his tie undone. He looked smaller somehow, like a man who'd run out of excuses. Emily, he started, standing up. Thank God. I've been calling you. I held up my hand. Don't. He froze. I pulled the letter from my pocket and placed it on the table. You forgot something in your car. He looked at it, and his face drained of color. How did you? Rachel gave it to me, I said evenly. Seems like she knows more about your secrets than I do. Mark sank back into the chair, his head in his hands. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I almost laughed. That's becoming your favorite line. He looked up at me, eyes glistening. I made mistakes, Emily. I was drowning. The company's been bleeding money for months. I thought if I could just get one more deal. So you forged my signature, I cut in. Took loans in my name. Lied about everything. And when that wasn't enough, you started seeing someone else. He opened his mouth to argue but stopped. Because there was no defense for that. The clock ticked loudly in the silence between us. Do you even know what you've done? I asked quietly. You didn't just betray me, you made me legally responsible for your mess. You tied me to your mistakes. Tears welled up in his eyes. I'll fix it. I swear I will. I shook my head slowly. No, Mark, you won't. I pulled a folder from my bag and set it next to the letter. He frowned, confused. What is that? Copies of the documents you forged, I said. I spoke with a lawyer this afternoon. The bank confirmed everything. Tomorrow morning, I'm filing for divorce, and pressing charges if I have to. He looked like he'd been punched. You'd really do that to me? I met his eyes, steady and calm. You already did it to yourself. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Outside, lightning flashed, illuminating the kitchen, the same one where we'd once laughed over late-night pancakes and dreams that never came true. I turned toward the door. Before leaving, I said softly, I loved you once, Mark. But I'm done being collateral damage in your downfall. And then I walked out. The rain soaked me as I stepped into the street, but for the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't look back. The end.